Hi, it's Ulrich Carlson here, and of course it's Oscar season, so there's a lot of titles that are being pretty heavily promoted and considered for the Academy Awards. One movie that's getting a lot of buzz and consideration was released this past summer, and I just got my 4K copy. This is Oppenheimer. Now, I do want to give a brief disclaimer. Most of what I review on this channel, I purchased myself. However, this disc was actually sent to me by Universal Studios, as I am a member of the Las Vegas Film Critics Society, and this is being considered in a lot of categories. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and unbox this release, and I will share my opinion. Cover art there, very simple but to the point. I like that. You got a critic quote from Richard Roper down there at the bottom. This is just the standard 4K release. If I do get any of those other releases, I'll certainly cover them on the channel as well. Underneath the slipcover, art is mostly the same. Inside the package, we have our digital code of the film, the Blu-ray of the film, the 4K disc of the film, and then there's a third disc, which is a Blu-ray that's nothing but special features. The movie itself is 3 hours long, so I guess Universal didn't want to cram too much stuff on one disc because 3 hours is pushing it pretty well, especially if it's all on one disc, in the case of both the Blu-ray and the 4K. So I do think they really made the right call there. And I will read the description of the film as follows. Experience the breathtaking global phenomenon that's captivated audiences around the world. Written for the screen and directed by Christopher Nolan, Oppenheimer thrusts audiences into the mind of physicist J. Robert Oppenheimer, whose landmark work on the Manhattan Project created the first atomic bomb. An unprecedented cinematic event, Oppenheimer features an all-star cast that includes Emily Blunt, Oscar winner Matt Damon, Oscar nominee Robert Downey Jr., Oscar nominee Florence Pugh, Josh Hartnett, and Oscar winners Casey Affleck, Rami Malek, and Kenneth Branagh. Oppenheimer is, without question, the most ambitious film that Christopher Nolan has ever made. It's no secret this has been a dream project of his for quite some time. I first became aware of Christopher Nolan when he directed a trilogy of Batman films several years ago. But he's done so many things outside of that. I admit I'm not the biggest fan of every single one of them, but he has put out his share of masterpieces along the way as well. So how does Oppenheimer measure up? It's certainly gotten a lot of positive buzz, and I did attend a theatrical screening of this back in July when the movie was first released. And I do have to say, I don't quite think the movie is the masterpiece people make it out to be, but it is still a very good film, and the good by far outweighs the bad. Christopher Nolan is a man of vision, and he certainly wanted to bring this vision to life in a big way, dealing with the man who largely invented the atomic bomb, became something of an American hero, but then was rejected as something of a pariah several years later. I also like the fact that Nolan's film does not paint Oppenheimer out to be a hero. He is a self-doubting, conflicted man who is something of an adulterer, and of course has ties to many questionable groups. Throughout the movie, it's an interesting struggle, and Murphy's portrayal of this is easily the best performance of his career. You probably remember him best if you saw Christopher Nolan's Batman movies as the guy that played Dr. Jonathan Crane, the Scarecrow. But here he really gets to stand on his own and be the lead, and it'll be absolutely criminal if this guy doesn't win the Best Actor Oscar. That I won't deny. There is some other great casting here as well, including Robert Downey Jr. as a man with an atomic energy commission who becomes something of a rival to Oppenheimer in the years following the war. Matt Damon as a military man who's responsible for putting together the Manhattan Project. Florence Pugh as an early love interest of Oppenheimer. And then you get supporting parts from a ton of other people, including Kenneth Branagh as Niels Bohr. And you get people like Josh Hartnett, Rami Malek, Alden Ehrenreich, Jason Clarke. We even get Gary Oldman showing up in a brief role as President Harry Truman. The list goes on. I'm not going to go into details on who each and every person plays because that could be a subject for a video unto itself. That said, though, as much as I like the movie, it does fall flat in a few areas. 3 hours is a very long runtime for any film, and if you're going to make a movie that long, it needs to be worthy of that runtime. Oppenheimer largely does feel overplotted and overstuffed. There are way too many characters, subplots, and elements to keep track of, and if you're not familiar with this story going in, you will get lost a few times. I've sat through this whole movie twice already, and I'm still having a hard time keeping up with all the elements. The movie also opts for a non-chronological narrative, which I think is a bit of a mistake because it makes it even more difficult to follow, and knowing what takes place when is a bit of a challenge. It's a beautiful looking film, I won't deny that. There are even some black and white scenes that look absolutely incredible. And the different cinematography, which also includes a shifting IMAX ratio, really helps to set the stage. There are moments where this movie just looks absolutely gorgeous. It's one of the greatest things ever cut to the medium of film. And anyone who watches the film, whether they love it or hate it, won't be able to deny the look and the casting are top-notch. The biggest problem with the movie, however, is everything that happens after the test detonation of the first atomic bomb just sort of drags out. And this is really a shame because the movie does lose its momentum, particularly in the last 45 minutes. If this had been about 30 to 45 minutes shorter, a little more tightly paced, maybe not so many characters and subplots, I think it could have been a better film. But as is, I'm still praising it and certainly still giving it my recommendation, despite the flaws. I do also want to give the disclaimer that Oppenheimer is rated R. I would absolutely not watch this film with your children because there are some very disturbing themes and graphic images. There's actually a surprising amount of nudity and sex scenes in the film, including one that actually takes place in a boardroom that feels like it sticks out a bit like a sore thumb. So again, if you're thinking about watching this one with kids, think twice. So how does Oppenheimer look for its 4K debut? This was a beautifully shot film, and I'm happy to announce this disc from Universal is a beautiful looking disc. From the black and white scenes that largely take place in offices, buildings, and tribunal courts going on, to the open expanses of Los Alamos, and when, of course, that first atomic bomb is detonated, this is a gorgeous disc, and I am absolutely, positively not disappointed in how it looks. We do get the shifting IMAX ratios on the discs, something that a lot of movies released to home video don't do, and that's very disappointing. For instance, Disney put out a lot of those Marvel Cinematic Universe movies that were shot in IMAX, but they don't even offer that on the actual physical home video releases. So Universal is certainly ahead of the curve here, so a great big thanks for including the proper IMAX sequences in their proper ratio. You get deep, dark black levels when they're needed, bright, vibrant whites and colors when those are called for, and the included Blu-ray also looks very good. I did sample a few scenes of that, but that extra little push from the HDR is what really makes the Blu-ray fall below its 4K counterpart. There are a ton of bonus features here. Again, like I said, there's one disc that's entirely bonus features, and you get several shorter pieces and several feature-length pieces, including a feature-length piece on J. Robert Oppenheimer, a documentary on the making of the film, a Meet the Press featurette. There's a ton of stuff here, and I haven't had a chance to sit down and watch it all yet, but I intend to first chance I get. Universal has really pulled out all the stops for Oppenheimer here, and it is a great home video package. Again, the film is not quite the masterpiece a lot of people think it is, at least in my eyes, but it is a very good film, and the disc looks great, and there's a massive supplement package, so I do highly recommend this package despite the relatively minor flaws of the film itself. Are you a fan of Oppenheimer? Do you think this one deserves to win Best Picture? Do you think it's Christopher Nolan's best film? Is it worthy of any other Oscars? Comment down below and let me know what you think. Also, remember to subscribe to this channel for more content because I'm always posting new videos. And make sure you give this one a like if you found it helpful. I'm Taylor T. Carlson. I'll see you next time.